It's 6 p.m. here in Korea. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Daniel Che. Let's begin with the headlines. Parties campaign harder than ever with the general election right around the corner here in South Korea. The ruling Celltrion releases more campaign pledges. The main opposition Minju emphasizes its original pledges, and the minor People's Party promises to overthrow old politics. President Park Geun-hye has arrived in Korea, her first foreign trip of the year, with the dual goal of economy and security has produced clear and visible results. Korean firm Celltrion's Inflectra gains final U.S. FDA approval to enter the American market. The breakthrough could pave the way for faster development of other biosimilar produced by Korean firms. President Park Geun-hye returns home after completing her 8-day trip to North America. Her diplomacy tour opened the door to even greater bilateral trade with Mexico and sought greater cooperation from the global community on curbing North Korea's nuclear ambitions in Washington. Song Ji-sun starts us off with a wrap-up of her trip.
In her first overseas trip of the year, President Park Geun-hye focused on security and the economy, two themes she has emphasized since the beginning of the year. Ahead of the Nuclear Security Summit in Washington, President Park sat down with the leaders of the United States, Japan, and China to reaffirm their cooperation against provocations from North Korea.
저는 미일 두 정상과 함께 국제사회가 북한의 도발을 결코 좌시하지 않을 것이며 만약 북한이 또다시 도발을 감행한다면 북한은 더욱 강력한 제재와 고립에 직면할 수밖에 없을 것임을 다시 한번 경고합니다.
At the summit, she said North Korea's accumulation of weapons-grade nuclear material, which goes against all of its international commitments, is a direct challenge to the global community. Over in Mexico City, President Park shifted gears to business, laying a foundation for a resumption of long-stalled negotiations on a Korea-Mexico free trade agreement. This comes 8 years after talks came to an abrupt stop following opposition from Mexico's automobile and steel sectors.
멕시코는 우리의 중남미 지역 최대 교역국이지만 양국 간 교역 및 투자를 확대해 나갈 여지는 여전히 매우 크다고 봅니다. 이 실무 협의에서 양국이 윈윈할 수 있는 창의적 방안을 마련하는 등 좋은 결실을 거두기를 기대합니다.
President Park arrived in Seoul on Wednesday, just a week before the general election, which could determine whether her policy initiatives will get a boost or face parliamentary challenges. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
With just a week left until the general elections begin, party leaders are scrambling to drum up support for their candidates. According to our Shin Se-min, this time some of them focused on areas that traditionally favor their rivals. Take a look.
Less than 7 days to the 20th parliamentary election, and the political party members are scrambling to win support for their candidates, bearing 20 to 30-minute schedule. Ruling party chief Kim Moo-sang swept through Jeollabuk-do province Wednesday morning, visiting Honam region for the first time, known for its strong opposition political party affiliation. Asking to vote for the Conservative Party candidates running in the region, ruling camp chief appealed to break down regionalism for the coming election. And the Conservative Party's election committee has released a 5th round of campaign pledge related to economy on Wednesday, vowing to ease regulations on independent business owners. The main opposition Minju Party of Korea's interim leader Kim Jong-in too continued a hectic schedule of campaigning, taking a tour around the capital Seoul, a key region where the outcome of the election is likely to be decided. Interim leader emphasized the party's goal once again at a televised discussion, saying that the election is not about the number of parliamentary seats, but is about how to save the country from such economic difficulties, calling to judge the Park administration's past 4 years. Visiting what used to be the Conservative Party's home ground, minor People's Party co-chair An Chol-soo promised voters to overthrow the old politics and asked to fuel support to his party. An told eligible voters that only his party can make progress in the parliament, where two-party system has been wasting time wrangling over matters regarding the people's livelihoods. He also proposed his negotiating party's counterparts to participate in a public debate where the party leaders can promise responsibility over their campaign pledges. Next up on the election calendar is the two-day early voting session that begins this Friday. Those who cannot vote on the election day can visit one of the 3,500 polling stations set up nationwide to cast their ballots. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Staying with the general elections, in accordance with rules set by the country's election watchdog, news media and survey outlets have until the end of the day to release their polling data. Kim Young-gil gives us an early peek at the public's preferences so far.
A poll conducted by Real Meter from April 1st to 4th showed the approval rating for the ruling's Saenuri Party was at 34%, the main opposition Minju Party of Korea 27%, the minor opposition People's Party 14.6%, and Justice Party 8%. The conservative Saenuri Party's approval rating slid from 37% a week earlier due to infighting during the candidate selection process last month. The liberal Minju Party saw its rating edge up 1 percentage point from the week before, but saw its popularity decline in its home turf of Jeollado province. And the newly formed People's Party gained 2.6 percentage points from the week before, while the ratings for the Justice Party remain unchanged. Looking at some of the most hotly contested districts, in Seoul's Nowon-si district, People's Party co-leader An Chol-soo has a slight lead of 0.2 percentage points over conservative newcomer Lee Jun-seok. In Seoul's core constituency of Jongno, former Seoul Mayor Oh Se-un has a comfortable lead with 42.6%, outpacing his Minju Party rival Chung Se-gyun, who has nearly 35%. And in Goyang-A district in Gyeonggi-do province, Justice Party chairwoman Shim Sang-jung is in a neck-and-neck race with Saenuri Party rival Son Bum-gyu. When asked if they will vote on election day, people in their 40s expressed the most interest in voting, with a participation rate of 64.4%, while people over 60 show the least interest with a rate of 50%. This is some of the last public polling data that can be released before an April 7th deadline set by the National Election Commission. Under those rules, the information cannot be published or broadcast in the 6 days before the election, though media outlets can cite polls taken before the deadline. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
Turning to the latest installment of our election special, we break down the latest polling in the nation's southeastern Gyeongsang-do province. Park Ji-won brings us the final report in our four-parter.
Korea's southeastern region covering Daegu, Busan, and Gyeongsang-do province has 65 parliamentary seats to offer. That's slightly over a quarter of the total 253 seats at stake in this election. The region has long been a staunch conservative stronghold, represented by President Park Geun-hye's hometown of Daegu, with a population of 2.5 million. All 12 of Daegu's seats went to the ruling Saenuri Party 4 years ago. The ruling party had hoped to sweep the city this time around as well, but recent opinion polls suggest that it may be losing its grip on the city. The change is partly due to the party's factional feud over its candidate nominations, a process that excluded some of the region's most influential and popular politicians. For example, after three-term lawmaker Yoo Seung-min was left off the party's nomination list, he is now running as independent and is expected to win. An independent candidate is also making a strong showing in Donggu-A district, where Saenuri candidate and former Public Administration Minister Chung Jong-sap is competing with independent Yoo Sung-gar in a neck-and-neck race. Yoo is a lawmaker who also left Saenuri when he was left off the nomination list. Another exceptional race is taking place in Susang-A district, where Saenuri Party candidate Kim Mun-soo is trailing main opposition Minju Party candidate Kim Bu-kyum. Former Gyeonggi Governor Kim Mun-soo is considered new to the region, and Liberal candidate Kim Bu-kyum, who is making his third attempt to run in the district, seems to be winning voters' hearts. In the previous election in 2012, the ruling Saenuri Party took 35 out of 37 seats in Gyeongsang-do province and the city of Ulsan, and it is expected to win 27 of the 35 constituencies up for grabs this time. In the more hotly contested districts in the region, independent candidates who left the ruling party after they were left off the nomination list are fiercely competing with candidates from their former party. Back in 2012, the Saenuri Party took 16 of the 18 seats in Busan with a population of 3.5 million, and the party is expected to do well again, except in 2 districts, including Bukgangseo A. Saenuri candidate Bang Min-sik is in a tight race with Minju candidate Chung Jae-soo, who's running in the district for a 4th straight time. But voter opinions keep changing, so it's hard to tell who will dominate this time around. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Korea has been experiencing a protracted slump in its economic growth, but there are some positive signs of recovery. According to the Korea Development Institute, the Korean economy is less likely to experience further weakness. The positive outlook is attributed to the recent upward trend in the service production industry, construction investment, and construction orders. Service production saw an on-year growth of 2.86% in March, while the construction industry enjoyed more favorable conditions due to factors such as an upswing in the property market. However, the state-run think tank also noted that while exports showed a small decline in March, it still has a long way to go before getting back on the recovery track. The U.S. FDA has cleared the way for sales of a biosimilar drug made by a Korean company for the anti-inflammatory drug Remicade. This is only the second time the FDA has greenlit a biotech drug for the U.S. market. Kim Min-ji has this report.
Korean biopharmaceutical firm Celltrion's biosimilar drug Inflectra is set to hit the U.S. market. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration gave its final approval on Wednesday to allow sales of the cheaper replica of Johnson & Johnson's top-selling drug Remicade. The anti-inflammatory drug is used to treat patients with a number of serious conditions, including Crohn's disease and rheumatoid arthritis. Biosimilars are biologic medical products with similar properties to ones already on the market. What's significant is that Inflectra is the world's first Remicade biosimilar to gain a footing in the U.S., which makes up about 50% of the global replica market. Celltrion expects to garner annual sales of up to $1.7 billion in the U.S. The biosimilar is highly similar in effectiveness and safety in comparison to Remicade, and it's projected to be about 20 to 30% cheaper than the original. In fact, after sales began in Europe in 2014, Johnson & Johnson saw its overseas sales plunge. Last year, sales fell almost 19% on year to just over $1.3 billion. And with the prescription rate of replica products at 88% in the U.S., it could deal a significant blow to sales of the original. Many in Korea are also hoping the approval of Inflectra will pave the way for faster development of other biosimilars produced by Korean firms. Currently, clinical testing is underway for 12 such products. Celltrion first received the thumbs up for Inflectra, or Remsima as it's known in Korea, from the Korean Ministry of Food and Drug Safety in 2012 and the European Medicines Agency in 2013. Pfizer, Celltrion's partner on Inflectra, will be in charge of marketing and sales of the drug, expected to kick off in the 3rd quarter. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Seoul's defense chief says Pyongyang has fully developed its multiple rocket launch system that could target half of South Korea when fired from the border. Kim Hyun-bin looks into the system that's expected to be implemented later this year.
South Korean Defense Minister Han Min-koo says that North Korea has completed testing on its 300mm multiple launch rocket system and is likely to deploy it on the border later this year. He said, quote, "North Korea has recently test-fired the system several times, through which I believe it has nearly completed development. Under this assessment, I think North Korea will deploy the 300mm MLRS as early as at the end of this year." North Korea said last month that leader Kim Jong-un has observed the final test of the system, which has a range of 200 kilometers and could target half of South Korea when fired from the border. South Korea's defense ministry says the system is a cheaper alternative to ballistic missiles. The defense minister said the new weapon system is different from previous long-range artillery munitions, pointing to its range and destructive power, but added that Seoul is fully capable of defending against a threat because it has constantly upgraded its counter-artillery. The defense chief also said North Korea is capable of launching another nuclear test at any given moment, as long as its leadership makes the decision. Experts say there's a possibility North Korea could conduct its fifth nuclear test before its pivotal Workers' Party Congress in May, or to commemorate the birthday of its founding leader, Kim Il-sung, who is the grandfather of current leader Kim Jong-un, in mid-April. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
There's about a month left until North Korea holds its first Workers' Party Congress in 36 years. With a set of crushing international sanctions imposed on Pyongyang, the regime is pushing its citizens and government agencies to prepare for that event. Connie Kim reports.
North Korea is mobilizing its government agencies and citizens to prepare for its ruling Workers' Party Congress in May, the first in 36 years. Sources well acquainted with North Korea say the people are being forced to work long hours to make short-term achievements ahead of the rare meeting. They're reportedly working more than 12 hours a day, with most working through the weekend in full military uniform, reflecting the urgency of the situation. This is all part of the 70-day target Pyongyang declared to concentrate all efforts into increasing production. But citizens are reportedly voicing discontent over the intense labor. Government agencies are also stretched, forced to collect money to fund the construction of a new district in the North Korean capital. If these agencies do not fulfill their plans within budget, they face the threat of personnel reshuffling. Raising funds within the regime has become crucial as North Korea's cash flow has been cut off by tough UN sanctions following its nuclear and missile tests earlier this year. Experts say Pyongyang is pushing to host a successful party congress to show the world it can stand on its own 2 feet. But with the international community, including North Korea's traditional ally China, already enforcing the latest sanctions on the regime, the general consensus seems to be that North Korea's party congress will end up being shorter than in the past. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
That's all from us for this hour. Thank you for watching.